Welcome back to another episode of the Astrology Magic Podcast, where we talk about astrology in a way that helps you create real magic in your life. And it just makes life more magical. That's why I love astrology. I'm feeling it today. I'm feeling my love for it today because it's so powerful. It's so magical. And I want to talk about one of the, if not the, most magical and mystical parts of your birth chart, of life, and it's so related to where we are in our astrological timing right here, right now, today. So it's so freaking relevant, and it's going to be the key to you surrendering into your soul, your higher self, what your soul came here to do, how your soul came here to live, the gifts your soul came here to express. We're going to talk about that today. How do we unlock those gifts? Because you came in with gifts, I came in with gifts, everyone came in with gifts. And unlocking them in your birth chart is one of the most fun journeys. It's like why I love using astrology. So we're going to be talking about the 12th house in your birth chart. Your birth chart is split up into 12 different pie slices. Each of those pie slices are related to a certain area of your life. If you've ever seen a life coach, I think of a birth chart like a life wheel, where a life coach would go around a life wheel, ask you about these different areas of your life, and have you rate it on a scale from 1 to 10. 10 being, I'm crushing this area of my life. 1 being, I'm not crushing it so much. So when we get to the 12th house, that's the final house in a birth chart, represents a lot of things. It represents your hidden gifts, but those gifts are hidden underneath karma. Karma you've picked up from past lives, from this life, that has resulted in you playing out these certain patterns in your life. We'll call them self-sabotaging patterns. Those patterns that keep us stuck in these karmic cycles that we just can't get out of no matter what we do, that lives in your 12th house. And every time you heal a 12th house pattern, which it's also the house of the undoing because it is self-undoing. It's like an ego death that happens when you undo a 12th house pattern. When you undo it, it is a karmic ending, a death to an old way of being, to an old trauma. You know, we only have these karmic patterns that come up in our life because of trauma that is also playing out in our birth chart. It's all connected. And often the trauma in our birth chart is connected to our power and how we go about creating life. You know, people hate trauma. They hate the big T word. They think that God hates them, or like trauma is associated with God hating you, or just you being wrong or being bad, or there being no God. But actually, all trauma, quote unquote trauma, that is caused to you in this life, in your life, is truly for your highest good. And I'm not saying that in a spiritual bypass way. I'm saying that because you came here to learn certain lessons. You came here to have certain experiences, and you wouldn't learn those lessons unless you had certain experiences that pushed you into learning those lessons. So, for example, let's say your father left when you were really young and he wasn't there for you, and you had a bunch of siblings and it was miserable. It was like this miserable life for you and your siblings, and you missed out on a lot of things, and you always resented not having a father. And that could seem like a really traumatic experience for you. And it could even be playing out in your life in hidden subconscious ways that keep you in these patterns, right? But let's say because you had that much pain, because you didn't have a father growing up, you really wanted children, but you made it your life's mission that when you had children, you were going to be the father that you never had. You were going to be the absolute, or mom. You're going to be the mom you never had, the father you never had, but this is stories around the father. You were going to be the best father that you didn't have. Because you want to give your kid the life that you didn't have. You want to have that experience. And so you came here to learn how to be the best father possible. And that could have been the lesson that your soul signed up for. And that's why you had that trauma when you were younger. If you didn't have that trauma when you were younger, you might not ever get into the arena of learning the lesson that you want to learn. So often, that's how I look at it in the birth chart. And how we get to our highest evolution using our blueprint that we came here with is we can find trauma in the birth chart, but we can also see why we keep creating certain patterns, and that lives in our 12th house. So, as much as you're learning lessons about how to be the father you never had, I imagine that person is going to be repeating certain lessons that sabotages them becoming the parent they always wanted but never had. For example, maybe because you didn't have a father growing up, you learned to be very responsible from an early age. Maybe you were like, I need to be the man of the house. Maybe you're a guy. And because you decided you needed to be responsible at an early age, you never really had your childhood. And so you feel disconnected from joy, fun, your heart, and you're just a constant goal getter. And as you get older, you want to be the best father you ever had for your child. And so part of that, what you wanted from your upbringing, was being able to be responsible and to provide for them and to make all the money so they can have this life. So that could be one way you go about being the best father ever. The problem is because the wounding was in being disconnected from your inner child and your joy, the way you go about becoming the best father is by being overly responsible, and maybe you actually end up manifesting not being the best father because you're always away working because you want to be the best father and provide the best life. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, we do these patterns from wounding we've gotten from growing up, and we try to be the opposite of that wounding, but somehow we can end up playing out that same wounding. That's why when people can hate their parents so much, but then grow up and be just like their parents, and it's so subconscious. That's the 12th house. The 12th house is the subconscious. So let's say what the gift could be if this person were to recognize this pattern and heal their 12th house. Maybe this person recognizes eventually, I'm never there for my kid. And really, the thing I really wanted wasn't for my dad to provide for me. It was deeper than feeling safe. I wanted to feel loved. I wanted to have fun with my dad. I wanted to feel less alone in the world. I wanted to feel like I didn't have to have responsibilities and I could just play with my dad. I could just have a real dad. And so maybe the way you go about healing your 12th house, which is all laid out in your birth chart, you recognize that and you stop working so much. You deprioritize how you're going to be the best dad. You start being a more present dad and having more fun in your life. And then maybe by you leaning into fun, you end up getting into this certain passion and entrepreneurship, and you end up making money by having fun. When you're realizing, oh my God, I didn't have to trade one for the other. I could have both. Because healing the 12th house is recognizing that you can surrender, that you're limitless, that you can really have it all. And so how do we go about becoming aware of how we sabotage, the micro ways we sabotage? Because it's really easy to be in those patterns. That's why people stay stuck in their 12th house patterns their whole fucking life. It starts with awareness. If that example I gave, if that father never became aware, he would have just stayed in the pattern. But because he knew that it was like a missed childhood, a missed connection to his inner child, he can back it up and actually go in and heal the pattern through surrender, through giving himself what he really needed. And usually when we surrender a 12th house pattern, it feels like death. It's not comfortable. And that's why it can be really confusing, and why astrology, in my opinion, is so powerful and important for figuring these things out. So here's what we look at in your birth chart to go about healing the 12th house. There is a zodiac sign that rules your 12th house. It's based on what your rising sign is. I created a paid article on Substack. Part of it's free, but it's really just explaining what we talked about in this podcast. The second half of the article is giving you ChatGPT prompts and a special ChatGPT that will help you actually become aware of your self-sabotaging patterns in your chart and how to heal them. So if you want to go in depth on how to apply it to your chart, check out that paid article down in the show notes down below, and it'll teach you how to do it for yourself. But we're going to go over everything that you would look at in your birth chart right now. If you want to try to figure out how to do it on your own, you can try to figure anything out you want on your own. No one's stopping you. So the zodiac sign that rules your 12th house, everyone has one. It is the sign that comes before your rising sign. So I am a Libra rising. The sign that comes before Libra in the zodiac wheel is Virgo. Virgo rules my 12th house. So then I know that a lot of my subconscious themes and my self-sabotaging patterns, but also my gifts, stem from the Virgo archetype. I am a chronic overthinker. That's Virgo. That's one of my self-sabotaging behaviors, is I overthink and overanalyze and want to be right and need to be right. So that energy, whatever zodiac sign rules your 12th house, flavors how you self-sabotage, what your strongest patterns are. But it goes deeper. There's then a planet that rules your 12th house. There's a planet that rules the zodiac sign in your chart that rules your 12th house. That planet is playing out a story in your birth chart, and it's telling you how you got these self-sabotaging behaviors and how they play out in your day-to-day life based on this planet. The thought patterns, the more specific details of how you go about sabotaging yourself. It also will explain how you go about healing the self-sabotaging behavior so you can unlock the gift. A huge gift that I unlocked through healing part of my 12th house, because it's like, this is lifetimes of stuff we have to heal. They're never going to be done. But I used to not think I was intuitive at all. I literally would say, if you give me two options and I had to choose between two options, and I would get it wrong all the time because I would overthink it. Virgo 12th house self-sabotaging behavior. I was so hyper vigilant, which is a Virgo self-sabotaging behavior. I was so hyper vigilant. I was always overanalyzing. I was always overthinking that I didn't even know what the fuck intuition was. When people talked about it, I had no idea what they were talking about. None. And I also was like a chronic exerciser and worker outer. So actually it was after 20 years of me being stuck in eating disorder patterns that I finally healed it. I surrendered it. I started to slow down and stop thinking so much about my food, but feeling into my body and feeling what felt expansive. And the thing that was my 20-year-long self-sabotaging behavior with food turned into a gift, because I actually unlocked my intuition with food. For the first time, I finally understood what intuition was, and it was because I stopped thinking about how to fuel myself and I started feeling, and it unlocked a gift. And now my gift is I understand what intuition feels like on a really deep level, and I've then been able to apply it to other things in my life. I'll always be healthy. I'll always have a body that I love because I feel so connected and intuitively to my body and how I feed myself. That was the gift. So, and that's all laid out in my birth chart. Now, there's another part of your birth chart that is going to show you how you go about healing these self-sabotaging behaviors, and that is where Neptune is in your birth chart. And this next year specifically, there's a lot of Neptune healing going on because the North Node is in Pisces. That's our karmic destiny. We're all moving towards Pisces energy, while Pisces is ruled by Neptune. So we're moving towards unwinding a lot of karmic patterns and surrendering right now. And through Neptune. Neptune's also in your birth chart. You have a Neptune placement. We look at the planet Neptune in your birth chart, the zodiac sign that rules Neptune, and the house it's in. And that tells you so much information around how you got these patterns, how you got these self-sabotaging patterns, even more detail into how they play out and how you can go about healing them. So those are the 3 things I really look at. Is I look at the zodiac sign that rules your 12th house. I look at the planet that rules your 12th house and the story it's playing out in your chart. I look at Neptune and the zodiac sign and house that Neptune is in, and then the story that Neptune is playing out in your chart. And you will become so aware of how you self-sabotage, and you will actually be able to stop it in the moment. And it's going to feel like death. It's going to feel like surrender. It's going to feel like, oh my God, everything in me wants to do this pattern. But because you now have this awareness, you can take more breaths and actually start a path to exiting out of them over and over and over again. So if you want to learn how to do that in your own chart, become a paid subscriber. Go to the article linked in the show notes below, and I'll teach you how to do it in your chart. And it's really exciting. This is why astrology is our blueprint. I truly believe that before we incarnated here on Earth, when we were picking our lessons, we were picking our lives, we designed our birth chart. We knew that we picked our parents based on our birth chart. Our soul came in based on our birth chart. Like at the exact time it did, at the exact location it did. Because that birth chart created certain energetic frequencies and currents within you that helped you attract and learn the lessons that you came here to learn. And it's so fun every time you learn a 12th house lesson. It is the deepest part of astrology. You're not going to hear a lot of astrologers talk about it. So I love it. I think everyone needs to know about this. Please spread the word on the 12th house. And I will see you on the next episode. I hope this was helpful for you. Let me know below.